Well, hello and welcome back to Brambleberry. I thought I had figured out this whole internet thing with the antennas, and I was getting ready to make a decision on which one of the antennas I was going to keep. And in talking more with the tech people at Waveform, they wanted me to try a few more things just to make sure that I was getting the most out of this that I could. And I'm glad they did, because it's solidified my decision and has actually got us a better connection, which is cool. And I'm gonna talk to you a bit about that in this video and kind of show you the results. The first thing that we did is we got into the router settings and we adjusted the bands that it was operating on. Initially, the router was set, and your router may be different. I'm using I don't know if it's a Cudy, how do you say it? Cudy, is how it's spelled. I'm using one of those, and it has the 2 antenna ports on the back of it, not the 4 antenna model. It's set up on auto as a default, and it just picks, I guess, whatever bandwidth is available, or whatever band is available, not bandwidth, to connect to the towers. And some of those bands, depending on your area, work better than others, or have, I guess, more or less traffic than others. So if you get it dialed into one that's better, you can potentially have a more stable connection. At least this is my understanding. And it did work for us. So Waveform sent me a list of bands to try, like combination of bands, and I went through those and tried each one. And I'm not going to show you what band I ended up picking because it's going to be different for you, but just so you know, that should be something that you consider and that you try to adjust in order to get the best connection. So once we got that figured out, I retested both the Yagi and the panel antennas once we got the band locked in, and it was giving me much better results that way. And I think what the issue is that since it was on auto, it was switching bands. So when I was doing testing, it just wasn't consistent. Like one time I'd attach, one antenna type, and a minute or two later, when I'd retest it, the results were completely different, and I didn't do anything like to move it or anything. And so it was really frustrating. But now, long story short, you get the band dialed in, and then it makes it more consistent and easier to test. So make sure you're looking at that. If your router can do that, maybe your router can't. It's something you have to look in the settings. But anyway, so that's the first part of this that you need to get dialed in. And then I'm going to show you the results after that and show you which antenna type I ended up going with for our setup. It's not like cable modem type speeds, but it is super fast for being out here in the middle of nowhere. And it's gonna be plenty of speed for us for the things that we do. Those upload speeds are just awesome. I don't know how much you look at what your speeds are on your internet, but the upload speeds are usually what the lowest end is. At our house where we used to live, we had line of sight internet, and the most we could ever get out of that was maybe like 1 meg. It's usually between 0.5 and 1, and so it was like impossible basically for us to upload our YouTube videos. We'd have to go elsewhere to do that. But now it looks like we're going to be able to actually do that from the homestead, which would be awesome for us. So now that we got the bands dialed in to where they need to be, now we can actually show you what we're seeing as far as how the antennas compare to each other. So as you can see, the download speeds were pretty comparable between the two antennas, but the difference was in the upload speed, and that's pretty important to us. So the panel wins out as far as that is concerned. So we're ended up going with the panel, but I want to talk to you a little bit more about how to aim your antennas effectively. There's a lot of stuff you can look at, like in the actual settings of your router, that give you more information basically on how you're aiming your antenna, and if you're making any improvements. So look into those as well whenever you're trying to figure out which direction to point your antenna and where to mount it in particular. So here's some settings that you can look at in your router. You might want to pause your video here or go to that website, but the one that we're really going to focus on is the SINR. So waveform suggested to me whenever I was trying to dial in my antenna onto the tower to look at the SINR number in my router settings, and that just kind of gives you an idea of whether or not you're aimed at the tower right on, or if maybe you're off a little bit. It's more important for the Yagi than it is for the panel, but it does help the panel to be facing the tower as well. So basically, if you looked at that chart, the higher the number gets, the better your signal is and the closer you are to being in line with the tower. So when you put your antenna up, you can pull the router details up on your phone, and there's a little bit of a lag, but it's pretty much real time. And you can move your antenna and you watch that number, and if the number goes up, you're getting warmer. If it goes down, you're getting colder. It's basically kind of how it works. So you just kind of move it around and try to find where the highest number is, and then you know you've got it on the tower. And then you can run your speed test and see if that antenna is performing the way you think it should. So basically, the SINR is for aiming the antenna. The speed test I used more for deciding which antenna was working better for our particular application. So hopefully that helps you a little bit more if you're trying out different antennas. That's how I did it. There's also other, as you could see, stats that you can look at in your router. I didn't look at those so much, but there's an explanation there. You can go to that website and read all about that and see if that's something that might help you in your particular application. Anyway, I'm sorry there's been a lot of yakking in this video, but I hope it's good information for you all. And if I get more information as I keep, fooling around with this thing, I'll share it with you if I think it's useful. If you have any questions, I can try to answer them if you want to leave them in the comments, or you can leave suggestions too. Maybe I'm missing something here and you have experience with it. But I would just say, if you're needing to go this route for a rural internet, so far, it took us a while to get things figured out, but if you're patient with it, it seems like it's going to work pretty well for us. I highly recommend it. NetBuddy for the service portion of it and getting your router, and then using Waveform for sure, because their customer service has been fabulous. Use Waveform to get your external antenna set up. So that's all I got on this, and we thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.